What's going on, everyone? So, unfortunately, the Orlando Magic had signed Wendell Carter Jr. to a new extension, so he is locked up to the 2028 season, which is really unfortunate for the Lakers, because the Lakers desperately need another center. Wendell Carter Jr. was a guy that would have been fantastic. He was probably my second favorite option as far as centers go, as to what we could acquire. Yes, he's not a real 7-footer, but 6'10", 270. He's got the weight and the size behind him, but also it's just his versatility. Be able to defend on the perimeter, be able to bend down low, play the power forward position, play the center position. Him alongside Anthony Davis, I think would have been very dynamic. I think you could have done a lot with a guy like Wendell Carter Jr. He would have been fantastic. Lakers touched base about Wendell Carter Jr. I did talk about and even relayed that, like, hey, we don't even know if he's really available, because just because a team is willing to listen doesn't mean that they really want to trade him or that he is available for trade, right? You're always going to do your due diligence. That's the job, right? What if some team offers you 5 firsts for Wendell Carter Jr.? You're like, you're not turning that down. You're like, all right, let's make that happen. We like Wendell Carter, but not that much, right? Like, you never know. You might end up getting a too good to be true type deal. But the problem is you already have an incredibly thin center market, and you just got another center taken off the board, right? So now it's like, where do the Lakers go? Now, there is the most likely option, which I think will end up happening. Like, if I had to, like, put money on, like, hey, Tyler, which center do you think will be a Laker by the trade deadline? Jonas Valančiūnas. I really do. I mean, there's just been so much smoke building that clearly there's a fire brewing, and it looks like it's going to be Jonas Valančiūnas, which, again, I'm all for. I'm not against it at all. You're not going to have to give up a first or anything crazy for that, right? I know some people look at it as like, you know, you should have just signed him rather than now you have to trade for him, which I get. But the Lakers were more focused on trying to get, DeMar DeRozan or Klay Thompson, which, okay, like, I don't know. I just don't think it's that big of a deal. I think it's still the same result regardless, right? You still would have had to salary dump guys. So you still would have had to unload contracts and give up assets in order to pull off the deal to go and sign Valančiūnas. Because remember, Lakers were over the amount of players. So I think ultimately you're probably coming to the same type of deal. Now you have to give up $10 million, right? Rather than, like, salary dump and a vet minimum. Sure, I get it, but I feel like a lot of that is just kind of semantics. But, hey, I understand why people are upset. If Valančiūnas is great, it's not going to matter. If he's not, then it wouldn't have worked out regardless. But I do think Valančiūnas is probably the most likely scenario. Like, that's the one, like, if I had to, put money where my mouth was, like, that would be the guy that I'm like, yeah, Lakers probably sign. But my favorite option, and the guy that I'm like, please go get, is Walker Kessler. And he's the guy that has been my favorite from the beginning. Like, even when I've talked about, like, trades that I want to see happen, right, where do I have, like, guys on my list? And I've talked about, I have Zach LaVine at the top just because I think he gives you the highest upside. You don't have to give up all your assets, right? You basically can still maintain your future, right? It's a win-win. You upgrade now. He gives you the highest ceiling raise, the highest potential. Are there concerns with him? Yes, but there's concerns with all these guys. Jeremy Grant has a terrible contract and only plays 40 games a year. Cam Johnson only plays the most games Cam Johnson has ever played in his career is 66 games. Like, all these guys are injury prone. All these guys aren't on great contracts. All these guys are available for a reason. To me, go get Zach LaVine because he's the highest ceiling raiser, right? And you don't have to give up your assets. You don't have to give up picks. And you may be able to get a second or a couple seconds, right? And you could still go make other moves. And you could potentially get the guy that I have second in line, which is Walker Kessler, right? I still think Zach LaVine and Walker Kessler gives you the best chance of winning an NBA championship. That's neither here nor there. Specifically stay on Walker Kessler and him, right? Word came out, 2 first-round picks is what it will take to get Walker Kessler. Now, not all firsts are created equal. Danny Ainge himself has said publicly that he believes the Lakers draft picks are the best picks on the market. They also have a protected first already from the Lakers. Could you lift the protection, right, of that pick and then also give up another unprotected first and land Walker Kessler? Maybe you give him a young guy in Maxwell Lewis or something, right? Like, here you go, here's a young guy. I would say like Jalen Shafino or something like that, but they have a ton of guards. Getting a guy in like a Maxwell Lewis gives them at least a wing that they can grow and develop, right, and gives him a young prospect. All right, maybe throw in like a Cam Reddish or something, and then give up a first and remove the protections, and boom, there you go, right? If you want a second or 2 seconds too, sure, right? Like, I think you go get him because he is. It's not even so much that he's better than all these other centers and whatnot, right? He's young enough to have been drafted in this year's draft. He immediately makes an impact now. Could be a guy that could start today for you if you wanted to, or come off the bench. Yes, he's still a project. Yes, you still need to develop him, but that's fine. You get a guy that has an immediate impact now, that solves a need that you have, and is your starting center for the future. Your best case scenario with the pick that you're giving to Utah is to get a guy like Walker Kessler that is proven already. And he can make plays out of the post. He's shown the ability to stretch the floor slightly. Like, he's a guy that would make a ton of sense. Can protect the rim, block shots. You put him alongside Anthony Davis. Good luck scoring inside. That's the kind of center we need. That's the kind of moves we need. So hopefully that ends up happening at some point. Danny Ainge, he's obviously is willing to trade with the Lakers, right? I always see comments that are like, Danny Ainge, you don't know how Danny Ainge is. Well, I have 2 trades with the Lakers as a sample size to show that I do know what Danny Ainge and how he feels about the Lakers, right? So clearly there's something there, right? Like, and Danny Ainge again in an interview said that the Lakers picks are the best picks. So I'm going to trust the sample size we have, the 2 trades we have, and Danny Ainge's words, just my thoughts. But you never know. That could potentially be a long shot. If you have to give up both first, you don't do it. As painful as it is, as much as I would love to get Walker Kessler, we need more than Walker Kessler. Like, just getting Walker Kessler, I don't believe puts us over the top. Does it make us better? Yes. But is that the move that it's like, now we're the best team in the league? No. Right? You need to go get Walker Kessler and. Now, Zach LaVine, yeah, just saying. But that's the end of there. Moving on. Next up, Clint Capela. Now, I know a lot of people don't really like the idea of Clint Capela because, he's not the same Clint Capela he once was, and he's on like a $20 million contract, right? But a couple things about that. One, yes, he's not the player he once was, but you're not really looking for that. You're really looking for cheap center that can come in, not going to cost you the farm, and can plug in a starting role in a pinch. Clint Capela could do that and potentially be your backup for the next few years. Clint Capela could be that, right? Clint Capela is still one of the best offensive rebounders in the league. Still a guy that go get you a double-double on any given night. Can still block shots and protect the rim. Not to the level that he used to, but still, he can do that. And he slot him alongside an Anthony Davis. Again, now he has Anthony Davis as the help defender. It's going to look pretty good. But the biggest reason I like the idea of Clint Capela is that $20 million expiring. Because one, if you trade for him early enough, you go trade him at the trade deadline and maybe get something else. But 2, if you don't trade D'Lo in the transaction, then you'd have D'Lo's money falling off the books. You'd have Clint Capela's money falling off the books. You'd have, Cam Reddish, Jackson Hayes, and Christian Wood's money falling off the books. And this guy behind me, LeBron James, can essentially take a vet minimum if he wanted to. So the Lakers could free up all the money that they want in order to go kind of revamp this roster and get back to contention status in an offseason, right? So I do like the idea of the future flexibility. Plus, again, you wouldn't have to give up your picks or anything like that. So, again, let's say Steph Curry is like, hey, I want to go to Lakers this offseason. You can now go trade for Steph Curry, and you're in a good place, right? Like, there you go, right? You could even take on salary because you'll be well below the first apron. So you could take on the salary. You could do all that. You could go sign other guys. Like, you're in a good place. Again, LeBron was willing to take like $20 million less to bring in like a Valančiūnas or these guys. You don't think he'd do that for Steph or another big free agent? Yeah, absolutely. I think he would. But if you can get Clint Capela, I don't hate the idea. And then if Clint Capela, like, what if he does work, right? What if he is great? Well, then you can just sign him a new contract, sign him to $10, $15 million a year, right? Boom, there you go. You solved your backup center position, and you could still go make moves for other guys. Win-win all around. Another guy that kind of comes to mind that, again, we don't know if he's available, but the New York Knicks seem to think that he's available, or at least we're heavily monitoring him and his potential availability, and that is Nick Richards. I like Nick Richards a lot, not so much as a starting center, but as your backup, he might be one of the best backups in the entire NBA. He's a guy that go get you a double-double, can fill in a spot. Now, again, Big difference between playing on a team like Charlotte and playing on a team like the Lakers with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So my opinion of him being your starting center may change if I see him with LeBron and D'Lo and Anthony Davis, right? Like, again, don't be surprised. Like, the magnitude guys can increase playing alongside two stars such as Anthony Davis and LeBron. So, again, my opinion might take, but him in a backup role that can start and be slotted in a pinch, I do like a lot. Again, it kind of boils down to cost. Like, how much does it cost to go get Nick Richards? I wouldn't give up a first for Nick Richards. Now, if you could get him for a second or 2 seconds, I'd even give up 3 or 4. If you, I mean, seconds are more valuable now than they've ever been because of the new CBA, but Nick Richards is still young enough to where you can have him for the long haul, and he's a guy that does make a lot of sense as your backup and potentially alongside Anthony Davis. So I really like the idea of Nick Richards. If you can bring him in, he solves a big need, big problem, big issue. Not a huge contract, so it makes sense to go and trade for him, bring him in. And then guys like Mitchell Robinson and then also Robert Williams, I wanted to put them together because they're essentially the same player, right? When they're healthy, are exactly, like, to the point what the Lakers need. Big, physical, sizable centers that can rebound like machines, excellent lob threats, floor running bigs, and just give you a level of toughness. Time Lord, Mitchell Robinson, healthy, are exactly what we need. Can block shots, do it all. Defend, you name it, right? Either of those guys, I would take in a heartbeat, particularly if they're healthy. If they're not healthy and it's kind of like, hey, you're only going to get 40, 50 games from them, I still don't hate the idea of them. Like, if break glass in case of emergency type thing, and you're only asking them to play a limited role anyway, like, you're only looking for them to play 15 to maybe 20 minutes tops, so maybe you can kind of get away with their health concerns, but it's just, what is the cost? Like, I'm not giving up a first for a guy that only plays 40 games a season. Like, I'm not doing that. Right? But if you can get them, again, for a second or 2 seconds or something like that. Problem is, the Knicks probably want another center, and they're not going to want somebody like Jackson Hayes, or I don't even think that they'd want like a Christian Wood. So you may have to find like a third team. Maybe it's something where, you know, like maybe Nick Richards would rather go to the Knicks than the Lakers, so you're working something out to where you're getting Mitchell Robinson, and then the Hornets are getting Rui or something, and then, you know, you're sending Nick Richards to the Knicks, right? Maybe you're working like some type of deal like that, or maybe Clint Capela, which the Knicks touched base and we're interested in Clint Capela. So, you know, maybe you're working something like that out where you're helping them orchestrate, but then I think that would need a salary dump team, if I'm not mistaken. Like, point is like, you're probably going to need another type of deal to go get Mitchell Robinson. Where Nick Richards, you could probably just do it and lump it into the Jeremy Grant trade. But again, what's the cost? If it's one first for both, like say a first in 2 seconds, or like a first and a pick swap, then sure, I would do that all day. But if you have to give up both first, then I'd hard pass, keep those guys. Right? It's just, again, the market's incredibly thin. Now look, between now and the trade deadline, there could be several guys that become available. You never know. Right? All of a sudden you look up, and it's like, we need to unload some guys, right? Like, you get that team that's in the middle of the pack, and it's just like, hey, we really want to retool. Never know, right? But it's tough. It's a tough position for the Lakers to be in. But as always, this is a discussion, and I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Which center would you prefer? Is there anyone in particular that you want to see the Lakers go get? What do you think about Wendell Carter Jr. signing that new extension? Do you think that, you know, it's fine, no big deal? Do you think like, nah, like that one really hurts? That was a guy that you were really hoping that the Lakers would have been able to land, the Lakers would have been able to acquire. Again, he would have been ideal. I really would have liked him. The only reason I like the idea of Walker Kessler over Wendell Carter Jr. is because Walker Kessler, 1, is a true 7-footer, and 2, his upside. Like, Wendell Carter Jr.'s probably closer to his ceiling than he is his floor, where Walker Kessler is, sky's the limit for him because he is so young and hasn't really gotten like the development and role, which is odd, but it's neither here nor there. I personally go get Walker Kessler. Go get Walker Kessler. But how do you feel? Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.